I just don't know what my next trip. How far are like I see them in the distance, but like how far away is like skiing? Yeah.
Too bright.
How are you? How do you know? It wasn't a close pause, so I do appreciate it. Well, tired and
No.
at least through this phase, and now it's still like my book, but it's like not as much like I was. Some point I started.
Oh, no. Morning. Welcome. I'm filling in for Jimmy Boise and Carrie Westergaard for the Boise Airport Commission meeting scheduled for June 5th. And it is 9:01, so we're ready for roll call.
Westergaard.
Here.
Carlson. Cunningham.
Here.
Donnelly. Yankelis.
I am here.
Vasconcelos.
Here.
Morales. Conklin. We have a forum, Madam Chair.
Welcome, everyone. We'll move into approval of minutes. Did everyone get a chance to review the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve? Or would you like to have anything removed?
I move to approve them. A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
From our May 1st meeting. Looks like there's no unfinished business, so we will jump right into Director Help's report. Looking forward to that.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Wow, we have a full house this morning. Lots of interest in what's going on at the airport today. I want to start off my report with thanking commission member Miles Conklin. I don't know if everyone realizes, but he's graduated, as a senior this year, going off to Montana State. And so I expect that this will likely be his last commission meeting. So I want to publicly thank you for your time here. And we have a couple parting gifts for you. So I want to just share these with you. This might be handy in your dorm room. It's a wireless speaker. It also lights up if you feel like a little disco. And a vest. And you can wear that with pride. You also will be matching Alex. He's here somewhere today. As I said to him once when we were wearing the vest on the same day, I said, we're besties. So thank you so much, Miles, for your contribution to the commission and your interest in the airport. And we all know that you're going to be doing wonderful things as you move on. So thank you. All right, so let's jump right into the official report. Lots of things happening at the airport. The large construction project that we have going on, perhaps the most visible one, is the consolidated rental car facility. As you may remember, we issued bonds for we were issuing bonds for this. And I think I probably have a slide coming up on that. For this project, it's a little over $100 million. It's under construction. It will be right adjacent to the airport access roadway. And so I think no new changes on the project. It just continues to move forward. On the airfield side, perhaps a little less visible to the traveling public, unless you're paying attention as you're taxiing out or taxiing in, is the taxiway Delta relocation and also the ARF access road construction. So ARF is our aircraft rescue and firefighting access road. We've completed phase 1. Phase 2 is in process. We expect it'll be done by the end of this month. And then phase 2 will include demolishing taxiway Delta and then the new sections of the ARF service road. If you've traveled, you've probably seen the plastic wrap in the terminal around the rotunda and also on the food court. People are asking, what's going on, if there's an issue with the medallion on the floor again. No, we're just replacing the skylights. So this will help with visibility, providing sunlight, and reduce heat gains and losses. So the project itself, the construction is visible. I think there'll be a noticeable difference when it's done, but it won't be something new. We do have another new project coming up though, that will be visible, and that will be new carpet in the lobby. We'll be replacing it in the ticket lobby. We'll also be replacing carpet on the 2nd and 3rd floor as well, in the hallways and some of the offices. That will not be as visible, obviously, but this will be a welcome change. It has been quite some time since we. One of the other projects that we're working on, we're in the early phases, of course, of Concourse A. We're working on the design. We're in the final stages of negotiating with Fentress for engineering services and architecture. And we will be issuing an RFQ here in the near future for what we're calling an owner's representative. And the role of this firm will be to augment staff and help us execute projects. So it'll be basically an advisor to the airport as we go through this very complex and expensive project. We want to make sure that we get it right. And then we will be issuing an RFQ for the construction manager at risk, which will be the company that will actually do the construction on the concourse. We'll do that in the fall of this year to bring them on board so they can provide input into the design process. Sort of that value engineering upfront is the concept. From an operational perspective, obviously, safety is a top priority for us, for the FAA, for everyone who operates here. Every year, the FAA hosts what they call a runway safety action team. We often refer to it as an RSAT. We hosted that in the month of May as well to review any traffic operations or equipment issues related to runway safety. I also had the opportunity in early May to attend what we call Jumpstart Air Service Conference. It was in Washington, DC this year. And I always like to refer to it as speed dating with the airlines. So there's a number of airlines. We met with 12 different airlines. These were all the airlines that were there, but we met with existing and prospective carriers. We met with a couple of Canadian carriers, startup Breeze. We also met with Hawaiian, and then we also met with a number of our existing carriers just to talk with them about how things are going in Boise and what they envision for future opportunities. Don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to fly on Avelo, the nonstop service to Sonoma, but we celebrated that this month, May 2nd, and it's twice weekly. Lots of celebrations in May. We also celebrated Frito-Lay. As you may recall, we have an industrial park that we are working on, and we have a master developer agreement with a company called Adler, and this is their second opening. They have 2 projects that are in process. This is second. They completed the Black Market Gelato last year, Frito-Lay this year. It's an 84,000 square foot facility. They'll be leasing that facility for a minimum of 10 years. So we are excited to have them on airport property as part of our efforts to diversify revenue. Probably not something that anyone would notice, but this is one of those things that makes the airport run more smoothly. This is a process improvement for us. The car park who is handling our parking these days has implemented an online billing tool for employees who are parking in the employee garage. It helps us track parking revenue a little bit better. It also streamlines the process and makes it easier for employees, helps reduce the opportunity for fraud, and just in general makes us more efficient. So excited about that. As we continue to grow, we continue to add people to help us with all of the work that we have and add people to our team. So we have 2 new team members that I would like to introduce this morning. We have Savannah, who is here. She is our public arts and history person. She's trying to hide in the back row. Savannah, if you would stand up, she's going to be helping us with our public art. Thank you, Savannah. And, you know, as we go through all of these capital projects, we have a 1% for art that we're committed to implementing. And so Savannah will be overseeing that and helping along with Beth's team on our art projects and art management. And then Jennifer Kronberg, she's also in the back row. The 2 new folks are sitting together.
They're sitting together.
She's going to help us with our communications and our communication strategy. As you know, Shauna's done an outstanding job. We've promoted her to assist with marketing and air service as well as communications. So Jennifer is going to help us with our communications plan, particularly as it relates to all of our capital development programs. So moving on to our enplanements, passenger numbers were up slightly in April of 2023, and they continue to be up slightly for the entire year. So relatively flat, slight increase. I expect that will change starting with the month of May because we see additional airline seat capacity. When we have more seat capacity, we can have more passengers. If we don't have more seats, we won't have more passengers. It's that they're very closely correlated. These are our top 10 operating revenues. Some things that you can call out right away. Obviously, parking revenue continues to be up. Our airline revenue, both the landing fees and the terminal concessions, continues to be up, as well as freight. A lot of that has to do with the restructuring of our airline use and lease agreement that we did last year. That was intentional, so that way we'd be able to generate additional revenue to help fund these upcoming capital projects that we have. Some of the other changes, probably not surprising, some of the things that we've talked about before, just some general increases in personnel, particularly as it relates to our police and fire contracts, and also as it relates to the indirect cost for the reimbursement to the city. And then other things include, fleet management is up substantially. Part of that has to do with timing, part of that has to do with major repairs on some of our larger pieces of equipment, such as our aircraft rescue and firefighting. And that concludes my director's report. I would be happy to stand for questions.
Just curious on the Frito-Lay facility, is that a warehouse or are they gonna be doing packaging, manufacturing?
So warehouse and distribution.
Madam Chair, this is Garrett. Rebecca, I just was curious, this is off, probably not important, but were you there during the cicada hatch or had it started to happen yet?
I don't think that I was there for that. That one.
Director Hubb, I have a quick question. Just walking into the airport today, it looks like the backlit signs are being worked on. Is there an upgrade happening there?
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. In our baggage claim, we are doing an upgrade to the digital signing. We will be using that to highlight and showcase our BOI upgrade program. So just all the capital projects. And then I see that I opened the wrong file and did not include in my director's report an update on our concessions program. But I do want to mention it, and I do want to specifically call out Commissioners Vasconcellos and Cunningham for their work on our selection committee. We went through a very rigorous selection process, and we had 5 proposals total for retail and gift and food and beverage. So we had 3 for retail, 2 for food. We did select Parodies LaGuardiere and Delaware North companies, which happened to be our incumbents. They did have the best proposals. I think you both can probably comment on the process as you were part of it, but we're really excited about the new concepts. And so you will be hearing more about that, but we expect that those will be going to council for approval. We're making the recommendation. Those will go to council either next week or the following week, but certainly sometime in the month of June. And then they'll be able to begin construction on those improvements once they have permits. So there will be a huge transition. I'm sure we'll talk about it more in the future, but I did want to mention that. And I did have a slide, but I see I did not upload the most recent.
When do you think construction will start?
I think that will be based on permitting because we have selected the incumbents. I think the transition process will be more smooth. I also think we have the opportunity because we are adding space, so net new space. For example, on the lower level, there will be a new bar. There will be on Concourse B, there will be a new retail space. There will also be some new food and beverage locations that are brand new. So it'll be new construction. So I expect that they'll probably opt to do the new construction first and then new remodels. That way we always have options available as passengers are traveling through. That's really important. Will be the phasing, but we will work with the concessionaires on a phasing plan. And I think when they start will be contingent upon how quickly they can get permits and then get contractors in to do the actual work and construction.
Madam Chair, Director Hubb, I just said, if I could go back to the top 10 expenses, I had a question on parking management expense. It seems significantly lower than last year. I don't see a note on it. I don't think you commented on it. If you did, I apologize, but why is that? It's a positive thing.
I am looking at it, either Kathleen or Sean. I suspect it's because we're not running the shuttles quite as often.
I think we've got that. And I think there's also a little bit of a timing switching from one contractor to another. So I think that will actually kind of change around, but yeah, we're expecting to see savings with the new contractors. So that's good.
For Director Hubb? Thank you. Great report. Now we're on to commissioners' comments. I'd love to start and thank Miles. I'd love to hear, if you want to say for a minute, like your experience here and just want to thank you for being here.
Thank you. I really enjoyed getting to advise about the airport and learn about all the different projects going underway. And I really appreciate all of you guys for helping me and taking me in and showing me the bureaucratic way here. Thank you all so much.
And your next phase? Are you
Yeah, headed off to Montana State in the fall, so super excited for that.
excellent? Well, congratulations. and Thank you. We'll move on. Do you have any comments, Councilman?
I'll just, one comment, thank you for your service as part of this commission. Been really nice getting to know you briefly here as I've joined, and thank you for your time, and perhaps this isn't the last time you'll be on the commission. You have a great future ahead, so congrats and good luck.
Madam Chair, I too congratulate Miles on his recent graduation. I can't help but reflect on my own time graduating high school, and I was a struggling grocery bagger at that time. And here he is flying, this impressive young man is flying planes all over the Northwest. I'm excited to see where life takes him and his future successes. So congratulations, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Just a comment about the process of being part of the selection. First of all, initially I regretted it immediately, not realizing how complicated it was going to be and time consuming. But what I did gather, I developed an appreciation for Dave and Curtis and Amy. Their knowledge and experience was evident, and it was such a pleasure dealing with them and watching them throughout this process. And I gained a greater appreciation for just for the work that you do and that process. So I felt privileged. Sometimes I feel like I take more from the airport than I give, and this was another example of that. But it was a pleasure serving with you all, and I'm excited to see the changes that the decision will bring to the airport. Those are my comments. Thank you.
I'd like to echo what John said, and in particular, compliment Amy on running a tight ship and keeping us all abiding by the rules and not letting anyone go astray. It was nice to have Dave's input and Curtis as well. And also the Southwest guy was pretty helpful, I felt, and it was good to have him on the committee. And he had some real perspective about, from the airline's point of view, and his workers. And having said all that, I'm very excited about the new lineup. And in particular, we're going to have a Starbucks. And not only that, but the Starbucks is going to be in a good location as compared to the other proposal. And the queuing situation should be good. I'm also really excited about the bar food facility. It's going to be down at Concourse C because it's going to be just out in the middle with seating all around and a view of the airport, of the runway, and that should be a really nice place to hang out, I think, for passengers, especially compared to what we have now. So I think there are just a lot of good improvements that came out of this, and I'm pretty excited about it. On a personal note, I flew to Indianapolis from Boise through Minneapolis, and getting there was no problem. But for the second time going through Minneapolis on the way back to Boise, I had to spend the night there in a motel, and I think that it was because of an airline crew with Delta that didn't have, either they weren't there on time or they didn't have sufficient rest or something. But what was interesting, the first time I've seen this, they didn't cancel our flight. They delayed it to 7 o'clock in the morning. And so I was almost in trouble because I rebooked seats, which were not as good on a later flight, not knowing that they were deferring our flight to 7. So you got to be careful. So I ended up resurrecting those seats and getting back on the early flight, which was good. But I'm not sure about going through Minneapolis, I guess. That's the second time I got stuck there.
Commissioner Nicholas?
Thank you. First of all, Miles, congratulations. Just as a word of advice from an old guy with gray hair, enjoy every moment. We are having our 50-year class reunion this year, and it flew by so quickly. I don't know where the time went. So enjoy each day, learn each day, make each day valuable, treat someone nice each day, do something memorable each day because it passes way too fast. Congratulations to Jennifer and Savannah on your new positions. I wish I was there to introduce myself to you, but we welcome you to the team. Again, Rebecca, thank you to you and your team for all the wonderful things that you do to make the Boise Airport just a standout among its peers. So thank you for everything, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I just have a couple of things. First, on behalf of the commission, I wanted to thank both Commissioner Gonzalez and Commissioner Cunningham for your time, because we appreciate the commitment that you all offered to the concessions, and we can't wait to see what you selected. And then I feel like I'm the person that sees Rebecca speak the most in the community. So I just wanted to congratulate her and say that she is definitely representing the Boise Airport and the community well. She just spoke at our SCAL group, our tourism group this last week, and it's always great to hear all the updates. Even being on the commission, every time I hear Rebecca speak, there's something new that I wasn't aware of. So thank you for that. And then I did want to mention that we have one of our largest groups we've ever helped bring here on a meetings convention side coming in this Saturday. They're staying for a full week. They're flying from all over. So hopefully the airport will see some of that. I can't wait to hear the feedback. But they're called Daughters of the Nile. It's a fraternal group that's part of the Shriners organization. So very philanthropic, but they'll be here for a full week. I think bought out the convention center and staying at a lot of great hotels. So can't wait to hear from them. And with that, I think that's all of us. Would love to hear. We're going to move on to the airport staff report from Kathleen Hawkins.
All right. I'm back again this month. I promise we won't be doing numbers every month. But I wanted to make sure you had a bit of a highlight about our 2025 budget that's being considered before the city council in July, I believe. I'll give you a little bit of a sense of where we stand. One of the things we pay attention to is where we sit in comparison to our peers. One of the metrics we look at is the cost per in-plane passenger. This is where we were in 2023, and you can see that we increased a bit from 2022, as you would expect. We compared ourselves to Reno this time. They're one of our peer airports, probably one of our closest comparisons, and they're at $792. The average across the country for a medium hub airport is $10.54. So still a bargain to fly into Boise. For the airlines. Okay. Cost per enplanement comparison. So then we also have a group of peer reports that we like to compare ourselves to. And you can see Providence, Oklahoma, Tulsa. These are the ones we generally compare ourselves to across the board. And we're about 431. This was in 23. 431, and you can see Spokane is at 682. 792. So I feel like we're actually pretty good right there. Next. Sorry, thank you. No, okay. I was like, wait, I don't think I did that. The wrong slide. Here's the operating revenues, and this is how much we're generating as revenue as compared to the same group. 46.23 million is what we generated last year. Whereas Reno does really well, 63.9. Charleston is at 74. We're working to increase that as we go so we can help fund some of the growth and some of our larger projects.
And if I can just add, our revenue per in-plane passenger is not as high as some of our peers, but that was intentional. It's by design because we want to keep our costs low for the airlines. So that way they'll consider adding service to Boise. So it's always, we're weighing we want to be a good value for the airlines, so we want to make sure that our pricing is affordable to them and competitive, but we also want to generate enough revenue that we can fund our capital improvements. And so, if you'd looked at this last year, it would have been even less. And so we will see increases in this category moving forward, but we don't want to be the market leader in this particular category.
Yes, and I'd like to add that, if, as we do increase it, we like to look at non-airline revenue sources, such as our industrial park and such, so. Yeah. Operating expense comparison, so this is where we are in terms of, expense compared to some of our peers. It's about in the middle, good place to be. And then debt per plane passenger is always interesting to look at. We have 32.73. The only debt that we have outstanding here, well, I guess today I should change that. As of yesterday, the only debt we had outstanding was the 2 parking garages and the SkyWest facility. And so that put us at 32.73 debt per plane passenger. You can see if we've got a few places, Spokane, Reno, they don't have any bonds out yet. And some that are highly leveraged, such as Providence. So
This number will also change.
yeah, this will definitely change. We're bringing on the Conrack, which is an $86 million bond. So that will change that metric. Here's an overview of the 2025 budget. It is somewhat misleading, and I will probably change the way we do this next time because it always looks like we have a lot more expense than we do revenue. We're anticipating 72.54 in revenue. That's what we budgeted for. We tend to budget it kind of conservatively on the revenue side. We tend to over budget a bit on the expense side to give us a little cushion in case something happens, a bad snow year or what. And we're at 83.8, but the 17 million of that is for is non-cash. It's for our depreciation expense, and so that always throws it a little bit. We have budgeted another 112.5 in capital expenses. We tend to budget our capital projects up front. So those numbers, for example, the Conrack is not in that. We budgeted for that last year, and then it will continue to roll forward as we go. Here's the revenue mix, so just get a sense of where we get most of our revenue. Our largest contributor is parking, as you would expect. Airlines close second. We've got our industrial land rent. That's about, I think that one's 8%. Another 6% for our grants. So this just is a nice mix, and I think I mentioned before that we like to be diversified to get it from a lot of different sources in case something happens to a certain segment of the industry. And then just so you have a breakdown of how the expenses are broken up on a large level, 57% of what we spend is in capital. You would imagine these large airfield construction projects are expensive. 17 million in personnel, that's 9% of that budget. M&O, including the depreciation expense, is 34%. And that is broken down a little bit more here. This gives you a good sense of where we're spending our money. Depreciation is by far the largest. I think I said 17, but it's actually 21 million. So, chemicals, it's 2% this year. That's our snow removal costs, and those vary quite a bit. Police, fire, those are large contracts that we have. They're about 9% each. Utilities comes in at about 3%. As you can imagine, we do lots of structural, electrical, plumbing, all sorts of repairs to keep the facilities in a good place. And they're 5 million. This just gives you a sense. The indirect cost of 5 million, that's what we pay for all our city services. So HR, legal, IT, all of those get paid through that indirect cost. These are some of the things that have increased a lot. Depreciation has increased. It's not that interesting. It is the cost of things that we've purchased in the past. They're just being expensed as we go forward. The fire services contract went up, and the police services went up. They're now charging us for overhead that they had in the past. We ran that through FAA, and they were happy with it. So we're good to go there. They also have a labor agreement that comes up every so many years, and that's coming up this next year. So it's possible that will increase as that happens. We're up in personnel expenses, the general raises and increases, but we've also added staffing. Indirect cost reimbursements also continuing to go up.
Clarify, that's the funds that we pay the city for things like HR, legal, IT. So for the indirect services that the city provides to us, we pay for those through this indirect cost allocation plan.
Then our largest group, capital projects, 112.5. So a lot of that was grant funding. We rely on our grant funding, and that's a large number now because of the infrastructure funds that we're hoping to get. Some of them are entitlements to us, and then others are competitive grants. So we'll be applying for. We have our passenger PFC funding. That's we have 35 million in projects allocated to that. That is a 450, right? Yeah, charge that goes on every ticket, so that we can use that as sort of a local tax, as you will. And then operating cash flow and bonds of 45. So those are some of our larger projects. I think Beth has probably given you a good update on all of those projects, but those are some of the largest projects that we're doing in 2025, or at least that we're budgeting for. That's all I have. If you have questions. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have time for questions and comments from the general public.
I'm sure I know there's one attendee on Zoom, and if that person can hear me and wishes to render public comment, please raise your hand and we'll have IT unmute you. Person has not raised their hand, Madam Chair.
Seeing none, a motion to adjourn the meeting. And do I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Hi,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
No, thank you.
Hey, guys.
Spend a lot of time with you. Sure. Yeah. I think I have much better running.
I'm sure the best we're gonna have like 3 hours.
Maybe snag a